High in the mist-shrouded monastery gardens of the Himalayas grows a vibrant red berry that holds a secret modern science is only just beginning to grasp. Containing 34 essential vitamins and minerals, this fruit boasts the highest antioxidant rating ever recorded, an ORAC score of 25,000, which is 5 times more potent than the celebrated blueberry. When researchers looked for a common denominator, they found it in their diet, the daily generational consumption of the goji berry, known locally as the wolfberry. The most staggering case, and one that still haunts the halls of longevity research, is that of Li Qingyuan. Li was a Chinese herbalist whose life was so extraordinary that even the Chinese government took notice. In 1930, a professor at Chengdu University discovered imperial government records from 1827 congratulating Li Qingyuan on his 150th birthday, and further documents from 1877 congratulating him on his 200th. According to these records, Li was born in 1677 and died in 1933, making him 252 years old. Describe a man who spent his life gathering herbs in the mountains and who attributed his vitality to a daily soup of goji berries and medicinal roots. Even if we set the extreme case of Li aside, the pattern of health in these regions remains an anomaly. In the 1920s, multiple Western explorers documented the Hunza populations, noting a total absence of the degenerative diseases that plagued Europe and America. These people weren't just living longer, they were staying young longer. Their secret weapon, the Lycium barbarum, was a thorny perennial shrub that they treated like a sacred orchard. They ate the berries fresh and plump from July through October, then meticulously dried them to maintain a constant supply through the harsh Himalayan winters. This plant eventually caught the eye of European botanists, who dubbed it the wolfberry, after observing a curious phenomenon. Medieval Europeans had watched wolves eating the bright red fruit in late summer, seemingly to bolster their strength before the autumn hunt. Traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, texts dating back to the Han Dynasty in 200 BCE had already classified the berry among the superior herbs, substances intended to be taken long-term to lighten the body and prevent aging, rather than just treating acute illness. It was prescribed to sharpen vision, support the filtering organs of the kidney and liver, and fortify the qi, or life force. Yet, despite this massive body of historical evidence and botanical interest in the 1600s, the goji berry remained a botanical curiosity, filed away in dusty Western archives for decades. There was no commercial incentive to bring it to the masses because the fresh fruit is a logistical nightmare. With a shelf life of only 3 to 5 days, the berries are far too delicate to survive the weeks-long shipping routes of the early 20th century. Because the West couldn't profit from the fresh fruit, they simply ignored the plant's existence, leaving the secret of the 250-year-old man to remain buried in the mountains, until a new industry figured out how to bottle the legend for a premium price: the silence surrounding the goji berry was shattered in the 1990s with the advent of high-resolution nutritional analysis. When scientists finally put the longevity fruit under the microscope, the data that came back seemed like a laboratory error. The numbers were biologically aggressive. The berries contained 500 times more vitamin C than oranges by weight, and a concentration of carotenoids, the precursors to vitamin A, that was 100 times higher than garden variety carrots. But it wasn't just the vitamins. Researchers identified 18 different amino acids, including all 8 essential ones, a feat almost unheard of in the fruit kingdom. Most importantly, they discovered LBP, or Lycium barbarum polysaccharides, complex sugars found in no other food on Earth that appeared to act as master molecules, instructing the immune system and protecting neurons from degradation. By 2000, the data was so extraordinary that the supplement industry realized they weren't just looking at a berry, they were looking at a gold mine. In 2003, a company called Free Life International launched Himalayan goji juice, and the marketing blitz that followed was a masterclass in psychological manipulation. They didn't sell you a plant, they sold you a miracle. They weaponized the Himalayan mystique, using images of serene Tibetan monks and ancient monasteries to justify a staggering price tag of $40 per litre bottle. Using a multi-level marketing MLM model, they turned ordinary people into health evangelists. The pitch was intoxicating. The juice could supposedly reverse aging, stop cancer in its tracks, enhance vision overnight, and solve chronic fatigue. The strategy worked with terrifying efficiency. Within just 3 short years, revenue for goji products exploded to over $250 million. Competitors like Monavi and Zango rushed into the vacuum, launching their own superfruit blends and further saturating the market. By 2006, the buzz had become a roar, and it finally caught the attention of the federal government. On May 2, 2006, the FDA issued a scathing warning letter, FD 206 WL04, to industry leaders. The violation was clear, making illegal disease claims. Under federal law, only FDA-approved drugs can claim to treat, cure, or prevent a disease. The goji marketers had flown too close to the sun, claiming their juice could cure everything from cancer to clinical depression. Instead of folding, the industry simply adapted. They hired regulatory specialists to scrub their labels of forbidden words. Reverses aging was surgically replaced with supports healthy aging. Prevents cancer became promotes immune function. The price didn't drop and the marketing didn't stop. It just became more clever. They mastered the structure-function claim, a legal loophole that allowed them to continue selling $40 bottles of juice to a public that was now thoroughly convinced that goji was an exotic, unattainable medicine. By controlling the language, they ensured that the consumer's focus remained on the processed, bottled extract. They built a multi-million-dollar wall of concentrated juice and standardized powders specifically designed to hide a simple, inconvenient truth. The source of this entire industry was a hearty shrub that you could buy for $20 and grow in your own backyard for free. There is a calculated, cold-blooded economic reason why you can walk into any Home Depot, Lowe's, or local nursery and find endless rows of petunias, marigolds, and impatiens, but never a single goji plant. The mainstream garden industry is built on a planned obsolescence model that mirrors the tech world. They thrive on annuals, plants that are genetically programmed to bloom once and die with the first frost, forcing you to return every single spring to open your wallet again. A goji plant, by contrast, is a one-and-done investment. It is a perennial powerhouse that lives and produces for 50 to 80 years. Once it's in the ground, that revenue stream is closed to the industry forever. But the threat to the corporate bottom line goes much deeper than just the plant's lifespan. The goji berry is a biological anomaly that requires almost no inputs. While the garden industry makes billions selling specialized fertilizers and toxic pesticides, the goji shrub is naturally pest-resistant due to its thorny branches and bitter, alkaloid-rich leaves. It is a nitrogen fixer, meaning it actually improves the soil it sits in, eliminating the need for bags of synthetic nutrients. It is drought-tolerant, heat-resistant up to 100-degree Celsius, and cold-hardy down to 15 degrees. In the eyes of a retail giant, the goji is a bad product because it doesn't need them. It is a self-sustaining pharmacy that renders the entire aisle of chemical supports obsolete. Even more dangerous to the status quo is the plant's aggressive ease of propagation. Most commercial fruit trees are grafted onto specific rootstocks to ensure you can't simply clone them at home. The goji berry, however, defies control. You can take a simple 6-inch cutting from a branch in the spring, stick it into a pot of moist soil, and it will develop a robust root system in as little as 6 weeks. You can turn one $25 plant into an entire orchard for the cost of $0. Because the wild-type Lycium barbarum has been cultivated for over 3,000 years, it exists firmly in the public domain. It cannot be patented, it cannot be owned, and it cannot be trademarked by a corporation. Big Ag and the supplement giants realized long ago that if they couldn't own the plant, they had to suppress the knowledge of it. In the early 2000s, there was a brief attempt to patent specific cultivars like Crimson Star or Phoenix Tears to create a controlled market. But the public domain versions were just as effective, making the patents worthless. So they pivoted to the current strategy: invisible availability. They would rather you pay a 5,000% markup on dried berries imported from the industrial zones of Ningxia, China, where they are often treated with sulfur dioxide and laden with heavy metals, then have you harvest 7 pounds of pristine, organic fresh fruit from your own patio. The gap in your garden centre isn't an accident. It's a firewall designed to protect a billion-dollar extraction industry from a plant that grows like a weed. The reality is that the Himalayan monastery was never actually out of reach. It was simply rebranded, bottled, and placed on a shelf in a health food store to ensure you'd pay a lifelong premium for a miracle that should be free. The mystique of the high-altitude monk is a marketing veil designed to make you feel like this nutrition is unattainable without a credit card and a shipping label. This is where the knowledge gap becomes the profit gap. If you search the internet today, you will find millions of hits for buy goji supplements or best goji juice. But the search volume for how to grow goji plants is a mere fraction of that. The algorithm itself has been trained by the industry to guide you toward a transaction rather than a harvest. While the average consumer is caught in this loop of repeat purchases, a quiet resistance has been thriving for decades. Within Chinese American communities, from the San Gabriel Valley in California to the bustling neighborhoods of Queens, the goji berry never needed a marketing department. Families have been passing down cuttings for generations, treating the plant not as an exotic superfood, but as a standard backyard staple. In these gardens, you won't find $40 bottles of processed juice. Instead, you'll find 70-year-old grandmothers picking fresh, vibrant berries from 30-year-old shrubs that were started as a simple 6-inch twig. They are harvesting the same life-extending polysaccharides and antioxidants that the supplement companies claim are proprietary, but they're getting them with the fiber and synergistic enzymes intact. And they're getting them for the price of a little water and sunshine. Breaking this monopoly doesn't require a laboratory or an expedition to the peaks of Pakistan. It only requires a fundamental shift in how you view medicine. The most potent anti-aging compounds on the planet aren't synthesized in sterile factories. They are synthesized in the dirt, under the sun, within the cells of a plant that is hardy enough to thrive in almost every USDA zone in the United States. When you realize that a single $25 plant can provide you with 7 pounds of berries a year for the next half-century, the entire supplement industry's facade begins to crumble. You are no longer a customer, you are a producer. But as we peel back the layers of the goji berry conspiracy, we have to look toward the horizon. The goji berry is just one example of a forgotten garden medicine that has been successfully commodified and hidden from the public eye. If the industry worked this hard to keep you from growing a simple berry that survives 15 degrees Celsius, what other ancient remedies are currently sitting in your neighbor's yard or growing wild in your local park, waiting to be discovered and sold back to you in a plastic bottle? The fountain of youth isn't a destination, it's a perennial shrub, and it might already be zone hardy in your area.